Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today we're going to talk about 11 survival uses for a kettlebell. And also a good reason to get a kettlebell into your house. And yeah, before we're going to talk about 11 survival uses for this thing, if you're interested in detective stories, there will be a link to my two books called Bloody Crosses and The Jason Murders. It's in Dutch. If you're interested, there will be a link in the description to the website where you can buy them. So if you're interested, take a look. Alright, kettlebells. Recently I've been looking into kettlebells for my gym training. Recently I would say I've been doing it for like 4 to 6 months, and I must say it's one of the best training tools ever, in my opinion. Let's first talk about what the kettlebell was historically used for, because this thing has been around for a long time. For example, there are bronze kettlebells found in ancient India, where warriors would train with them. Another thing is the Soviet Union. The farmers before the Soviet Union used something like a kettlebell to use as a scale for farmers who want to measure stuff for buying markets, that kind of stuff. And because soldiers in the Soviet Union did not have much funds for training material, used this kind of kettlebells for that. They started to invent training for them. So that's another thing about it. So it's a very piece of equipment, but you got 11 survival uses that you can do with them. And if you're going to buy one of these, I would advise they are perhaps a little bit more expensive, but try to buy the iron cast ones, because these are perhaps a little bit more healthier if you train in outdoor kind of stuff where there's a lot of sunlight, and if you got one of those recycled materials around them, those microplastic, that kind of stuff. So that's a little warning, but they are fine anyway if you store them in a place where the sun does not melt the plastic, so to say. So what are the survival uses for one of these? Like I said before, like in the Soviet Union, the farmers who used this as weight, you can see the weights are on top of them. So that's one thing. So during a SHTF scenario, you want something to do measurement, because you're probably going to do some bartering, that kind of stuff. So with this, you know how much this weight, you can hang it onto something, or you can place it onto one of those plates on a scale. So that's something handy that you can have, especially if you got them set. If you got a set from 1 kilogram, 2 kilogram, 4, 5, 8, 12, or even more. So, and it's not only handy for vast materials, but also for liquids. So that's one thing. Another thing is as a door stopper. If you want your door to be open during the summertime, because you want some cool wind to get into your house and the electricity is off, blackout or whatever, and you want to keep your house cool, you can use them as an easy door stopper. That way, so in case that wind blowing through and your door is, because the wind circulates around in your house, and then you got the problem that your door can go open and closing. So as a door stopper, it's handy. It's one of those things in a survival scenario. So another thing is as a press. I've been talking about, perhaps in previous videos, about that I make fuel bricks from dried manure from my guinea pigs. And one of the things that you can do with them, that you need to do, is place them in a holder where you can put some weight on top of the dung, so you can keep pressing it and keep a weight on top of it, so it will go down the more moist gets between them. So the same thing goes for these fuel bricks that I make from manure, and also if you want to make fuel bricks from paper mache, for example, like water and old paper, mix them, and the same thing goes, put something heavy on top of it so it will keep pressing down. That's another thing for survival uses. We are going to talk about gym and training at the last part to show you different techniques, but another thing I would say is for sport, not sport as in training, but more sport as in games, because even in a SHTF situation, you want to organize something to keep spirits up, have some game that you don't need electricity for, and what is better than that than some Highland games? So if you got a kettlebell and you want to do some small with your neighborhood community, a sort of Highland games outside, you can use one of these and use them to throw it like a rock, and then you have something that you can see how much does it weight, so nobody brings their own weight, and it is handy for throwing with the ring on top of it. So, and that's also the reason why I would advise to use a full iron cast, because plastic, if it hits something hard or even a little pebble, it can dent a little bit with the plastic, and it can be a little bit annoying if you touch it later on. So that's another thing. Another thing is use it as a cover weight. And what do I mean by that? For example, if you got a car or perhaps a tarp that you want to place over your motorcycle or anything else you want to cover with a tarp, you can either use this as weight on the corners, on top of it, or you can, for example, let me do it like this. Nope. Or you can hang some of the corners of the tarp with some rope or something at the side, and you can replace the kettlebell further away to keep more tension on. So in case that there's an annoying fly around here, so I'll deal with that later. So in that case, it's really a big annoying bastard. So that way you can place it whenever it moves, so you don't have a vast anchor point that you cannot move. So so you don't have to move to knot it again, you can just replace it a little bit. So that's another thing. Another thing I would say is use it as a fake weight. What do I mean by that? If you fear for burglars, you got, for example, ammo boxes, bug out bags, or something else that might contain valuable things, you can put a kettlebell inside of them, and the thief will pick up a box or ammo case or whatever and think, oh, this is heavy, this is full, and this is perhaps the maximum I can carry, and leave the valuable shit behind. So it's like a fake weight that you put in the container where you keep normally more valuable stuff, for example. Another thing I would say is concert a razor wire. If you know concert a razor wire, you need 2 points where you connect them so they will stay at the same place. But if you cannot put it into a ground with sticks or with stakes or whatever, you can use kettlebells. You can connect one side of the concertina wire and you can place it a little bit more open on the roads or hard concrete surfaces, and that way you can create barriers against robbers or perhaps even marauders or wild animals in an improvised way. And yeah, you can say, but will people not just put it away? Well, they can do that with stakes too, but the thing about concertina wire is it's a barrier. It's psychological and it's a physical barrier, but any enemy that has the most will always find a way. So it's more like improvised in a way, and it's multifunctional. That is the point of using the kettlebell for this role. Another thing I would say is tripwire. If you want to place tripwire into your garden, yeah, if you're really not good with knots, or you want to place it at different points and you don't want to haggle with always changing, you can use it the same way as this. You can use a carabiner hook or something, or just a knot, and you can place it wherever you want, and it will be it will be strong enough that it can trip something but it will not be strong enough that it will fall and deny the task you will use it for. For example, a booby trap, alarm system. So it's just the right weight to it, that it's not too sturdy and not sturdy enough. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, another thing I would say is that is perhaps a little bit far-fetched, but here we go. You can use it as as points for your gun. For example, if it's a shooting range, for example, you can either put it on top of the kettlebell and use it as a base for accurate fire, because it's a very sturdy base. This is usually flat, and it's also at the right height to do some laying down shooting, for example, or you can place it on top of something higher. And another thing that I like is it can also be used as a form of protection. For example, you got the kettlebell, it's usually made out of very sturdy material like iron cast. So if somebody is shooting at you and it hits this, it can protect you, it will not go through. So how you can use this in a defensive position, you can take your gun, put it through the ring and use it as an improvised little shield. I don't know if you can see it, but if you were an enemy, you would have now a smaller target to hit, and also a large protection against the front of me. Not if they come from the side, of course, but in front of me, but that way I can just take it out, take it with me and use it as protection on my next firing position. So perhaps far-fetched, but it is a way you can use it, utilize it. But yeah, that is what I'm always trying to say on this channel. Try to do more with less. And as the last thing I would say, and not only for EDC, shit at the fan, bug-in scenario, for sports, for gym and exercise. It is very important because, yeah, even how do you say this? Even when times are bad, you need exercise for motivation, to keep your body healthy, to keep you strong, physically and mentally. It's helpful, especially if there are blackouts or some other tasks, some other disasters that will prevent you from doing something else. And that's why the kettlebell is a very handy training tool. And not only for people who are already into fitness or gym, but also people who are, how do you say this? They are less physical. It's a good starting training tool, easy, you only need one and you can do full body workouts. So even if you live in an apartment, you don't need a whole set of bench press, weights and other kind of gym equipment. If you got one of these, you can do a lot of different types of exercise. For example, you can do a kettlebell swing, where you keep, when you put your feet on shoulder height, on the width of the shoulder, keep a straight back, and you can do some kettlebell swings. With this exercise, you mainly train the gluten part. You also train a little bit chest, also arms, also the smaller muscles that you use to keep in balance are also getting trained, instead of only using one body part to train it. So you can train multiple muscles at the same time with just swings. You can also do, for example, snatches. You can place it between your legs, shoulder height, and you can going up, chains, and that way, because you use your legs, you push yourself up. Also with the gluten, you train your biceps, and by turning around with your arm, also the forearm, and during the snatch, biceps again, going up, also the side of your body. So all this getting trained with one exercise. What are some other exercises you can do? Something very simple, and this is something you can do as a sort of rest between two heavy exercises, just going around. You keep your muscles busy while also doing something minimalistic to keep on training. What is another thing you can do with this? There are actually too many exercises you can do with this. Squats for your legs. This is very handy if you want to train to carry a more heavy dugout bag. You can keep it in front of you and do some squats, kettlebell squats, so to say. You can also do deadlifts with it. So that's also some good core exercise. You can also just do, if you've got something to lean against, you can do, I don't know how this is called in English, but it is very good for sides, chest, arm overall. Just the same as earlier, but you can do more heavier weights that way. You can also do on the ground exercise, but I cannot think of one at the moment because usually I do it standing up. But you can also, perhaps for with the upper body circle going up, and train everything also in your arms. And also if you have some materials, gym apparatus like this, you can hang a kettlebell on top of a control system, pulley system, and use it as a sort of improvised gym apparatus. So yeah, this was everything you can do with a kettlebell, not only for sport, but just general survival improvisations. And I hope you like this video. If you know any other survival uses for a kettlebell like this, please let me know in the comments. I'm always eager to learn, and see you in the next video, and cheers!